go. Deep breath. Hey!
This is In the Paint. Positive Alliance Inspiring Natural Talent. We are a group of people who have decided to come together and inspire folks who have a natural talent. Now, here's a little tidbit of information. We all have a talent. It might not be performing, it might not be acting, but you have a talent. And you also have one of the most powerful things on the planet. Every human being has it. It's called attention. And it's very valuable. That's why they say pay attention, or are you paying attention? Because it's valuable. And I would like to challenge you to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. What are you giving your power to? What are you letting draw you in and direct and influence and control your life? When you woke up this morning, was the first thing you did was look at your phone? You gave your attention away. So we're going to turn our attention back within, because a lot of the things that are going on in the world right now are not going to be solved by outside of us. We have to go within to find these answers, and that's what this broadcast is about. So y'all, let's do it. Let's get in the paint. Come on. All right. Settle down, people. Settle down. Make sure you got your equipment together. Come on. Get your brushes. Make sure they're clean. All right. Well, hello, my fellow artists, and welcome to In the Paint. All right. We're going to be doing some painting, and we're going to be talking about brushes today and the equipment that we need. So you see, I'm equipped. I got my goggles. I got my hat. I don't want to get splattered all over. Y'all like my shirt? Yeah, so we are definitely getting in the paint, y'all. So we're going to start things out. Like I said, first of all, talking about the brushes that we need to make sure that we can paint a wonderful day. We're going to have exactly 12 brushes to apply to a beautiful day. Now, there's some pretty much, I guess, mandatory things that you have to have if you're going to deal in this life and deal with society, deal with other people and situations and things that you might not be able to control. These foundational brushes that you have to have in your belt when you go out there are very important. So we're going to start it out. The first one, probably the biggest one you're going to need, is acceptance. Acceptance is the biggest brush you got to carry. You know why? Because if you don't accept what's going on around you, you're going to be fighting all day, all night, and it's not going to change one single thing. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems. You know, when I accept that my life is exactly where it's supposed to be, and everything is going the way that it should, then I can start acting a little more responsible. I'm not a victim anymore when I accept things. I don't have to adopt it now. I can accept it without adopting it. Some people think when I accept something, or I got to adopt it, believe what you know. I don't have to adopt it, but I can accept it. It means I don't have to fight against it. I ain't got to get mad. I ain't got to get all bent out of shape just because it's not going my way. I can just accept it as the way it is and get back to my painting. All right. The next one, which is another huge one, this is imagination. It's probably just as big as acceptance. Because when you're in a situation, sometimes I think we just go with knee-jerk reactions. We do what we've always done. We respond the way we've always responded. But in reality, if you use your imagination, you can actually have a good time in a situation that used to drive you crazy because you've looked at it differently. You've thought about a different way to approach it, a problem, a situation, a person, an attitude. You use your imagination and be like, well, yeah, I can probably work around this some kind of way, but you have to open up your mind to do that. And we as artists, you already know, we love using our imagination. So I basically try to apply that one, but that's a big one you gotta have. As artists, we have to. That canvas is so clear, it's so clean, and we can put whatever we want on it. Oh man, that's just a treasure trove for an artist, because we get to use our imagination and create things. Sometimes I like changing my hair or changing the way I dress just to see how people respond. But I always like to bring a smile because I think that's one of the best ways that I can use my imagination to soften the situation. And it makes it easier for me. So don't want to carry stuff around that doesn't work anymore, like a lot of resentment and stuff. Why? That's not healthy. So we don't want to go off on that right now. But anyway, that's just kind of the way I go about it when I use my imagination. Like I said, no knee-jerk reactions. Just because I learned how to act that way when I was younger, I don't have to continue it. I can change that. But I got to open my mind and use my imagination to do so. Fix the situation a little bit, with some sweetness. All right, another one that we want to talk about. This one is understanding. Now, understanding can be quite delicate, but it can be a broad thing because I have to stop, I have to listen, and I have to actually try to understand another person. If I can do that, it would probably make me feel so much better about what's going on. But most of the time, if people don't understand, then it becomes a little impasse. You can't get past that moment of, well, you don't understand exactly what I mean. So I try to open my mind, definitely understand a person. And if I can understand them, now I can operate with a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of knowledge about how things are supposed to be done because I understand where they're coming from. But most of us, we be all so in our head, we can't understand what people are talking about. We take it one way because we think that everybody's against us, so we're going to rise up and all this. It's not that. It's just understanding that person and their plight and what they're going through. It doesn't take much. All right, the next one that we're going to deal with is kindness. Now, that's a brush that a lot of people like to have in their toolbox and in their belt, when they're going out to paint. That kindness can be something, man. Hold the door open for somebody, give them a compliment, a smile, go that extra mile and do something just nice for people in a day. It makes you feel good, but you always have it. You don't have to not be kind. Matter of fact, the worse your day going, I bet you if you try a little kindness, you feel so much better by the end of the day. It works really, really well. So that's another delicate delicate one, but you want to make sure you have it in there. It's a pretty good tool, pretty good brush to have to paint with. So now we're going to deal with the next one. We're going to call this one wit. So wit is something where you just kind of get a little lighter than being so heavy and serious all the time. Somebody told me one time, they said, Ray, you too serious. So I learned not to take myself so seriously. It's like, man, when you do that, you're so wound up because now somebody's got to talk to you the right way. They got to look at you the right way. They got to say the right thing to you. And if they don't, you're going to hold on to that for 2 weeks. And they go on with their life. And you've been so serious about a moment in time that you could have painted something else on, Throw a little wit in there. Get a little funny. Tell a joke. Make a crack. Laugh at yourself. That's the thing. If I take myself too seriously and I can't even laugh at my own craziness sometimes, then that's a problem. It's like I want to be tight. I want to be stressed. But it can be habitual. And sometimes people, they live in stressful situations. They got stressful jobs. They have to deal with the children. All of these type things. And next thing you know, they come to you and they all tight and wound up. So they really don't know how to have fun. So throw a little wit in there, Don't take yourself so seriously. It really doesn't make for a good day when you do that. You feel all stressed out by the time you get home. So now we're going to deal with one that I think is probably the most important. That's patience. It has to be at least big enough to cover the area that you are in, because patience, unlike some of the other ones that like imagination, that's pretty broad, but patience is pretty specific. Because when you in a situation, that brush has to be broad enough to cover just where you at, say 3.5 feet or so, you and your aura, because you have to deal with a situation in that moment. Being in the moment helps us with our patience. But we always living either in the past, walking around with some baggage, or we're trying to live in the future. What I got to do and do. But patience is something. It's like a muscle. So here's a practice that I do, or I used to when I wasn't having trouble with my back situation. But when I was standing in a line, the first thought that comes in our mind is, oh my goodness, what's taking her so long? Why is she writing a check? Oh my goodness, all of these ideas of, what's going on, but we are worked up over the situation. Patience can be exercised like a muscle. So if I'm standing in a long line, guess what I start doing? I start exercising. I'll start doing some, lunges or some toe raises or some squats or whatever. And people was looking at me like I was crazy. But this is my time. This is my space. And I can do with it what I choose to. A matter of fact, I challenged myself one time. I was standing in line and I said, I wonder if I can do 50 toe raises before I get to the front of the line. And sure enough, I did my 50 toe raises. And then I was like, okay, I wonder if I can do 50 more. So instead of getting caught up in that situation where, I got to wait, I got to be patient, and now I'm angry because I have to be patient. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift, and it's a wonderful brush to paint on your day. It would definitely help you just, lay down at night and be like, wow, what a beautiful day. Because you take that patience and you take that time, you can appreciate the day instead of always living in that next minute, always living in the future, worrying about what you got to do tonight, tomorrow, next week. Be in the moment. Look at some paintings on the wall, for crying out loud. Do anything to get you through a situation without making your cells get all worked up and tight. So those are our first 6 brushes. Now we're going to come back after this commercial break and we're going to talk about the last 6 brushes. These are kind of fine. It takes a good artist who's seasoned because they're fine. And if you make a really, really nice painting with them, oh my goodness, it just pops and it just makes things so brilliant and beautiful. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. This is our first break. I want y'all to check this out.
The Traveler's Toolbox. Life is a journey, and we're all travelers, moving from one season to the next, from faith to faith and from glory to glory. At Anointed Community Services International, we believe every traveler needs the right tools to make the journey the best that it can be. Through faith, wisdom, and practical empowerment, we help you pack your spiritual and life toolbox with resources that build strength, hope, and success. Whether you're a single mother, a youth finding your path, or a senior still dreaming new dreams, remember, with God as your guide, every step takes you higher. Together, we're traveling with purpose, power, and anointed direction. Because at ACSI, we exist to empower you for the journey ahead.
All right. We are back. Dr. Linda Cowles, I tell you, that's the way you sow some seeds of compassion. I mean, she touches almost every demographic, young people, older people, folks that are, single moms, folks that are homeless, helpless, or feeling helpless, and pulls them up. Man, that is a powerful, powerful message. So guess what? She's going to be my first guest, my first interview on the podcast, and that'll be happening in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, let's get back to where we were. Okay, where were we? We were talking about, the finer toothbrushes. All right. One of them is wisdom. Now, wisdom is not an easy one. You have to apply it in a very, very specific way. A lot of times we see things and we want to tell people what to do, how to do it, fix, manage, and control once again. However, wisdom tells us when we should probably step in, and particularly what to say. I always say wisdom is the acceptance and the application of the truth in its proper context. So, we got that brush, right? Now we're going to go to one that I think is very important that a lot of people don't have, and that's empathy. Empathy is a little bit different from feeling sorry from someone. Empathy is actually putting yourself in that person's shoes and knowing how they feel, and knowing if it were you, how you would feel and what you would expect someone to at least try to do to comfort you. That's another good one that we have to have in our belt. The next one is contentment. Now this brush, kind of tricky. It's very delicate because to be content, that means that no matter what's going on, you're fine with it. There's a scripture I think I read one time that said, whether I'm abased or abound, I've learned therewith to be content, knowing that nothing's going to shake you. You don't get too excited because you're having triumphs, and you don't get too sad when you have a tragedy. You just stay in that space of knowing that no matter what goes on, it's a part of my life and I'm going to be okay with it. Not easy to do, but it definitely works. The next one is one of the biggest ones. Oh my goodness. This one is mindfulness. Now, it's not as delicate as some of the others because it doesn't take much to go out and actually see what's around you and respond to it in the proper way. But when you have to make room for other people and notice what they're doing and notice, the man that might be struggling to get up the stairs and not be in such a hurry when you're behind him, or noticing that it's a lot of traffic and what sense does it make to get mad when I'm in traffic because I know it's a lot of traffic. So that mindfulness of just knowing the situation and applying a little bit of grace and a little bit of patience and being easy with yourself at that point. That's a good one. All right. This is another one that is pretty difficult. Very fine brushes. And this one is humility. Humility is not easy to handle. Matter of fact, a lot of us that are trying to paint these wonderful days in our lives, we have struggles with that. Because we feel like, hey, we autonomous, I got my ego, I'm going to be who I am and forget you. But humility is not abasing or debasing ourselves. Humility is knowing that you're the right size. I'm a man among men. I'm not greater than anyone, and I'm not less than anyone. But I know when to get in my place. If I come into a situation that really doesn't have anything to do with me, humility lets me step to the side and not to have to bogart the situation. I remember one time when I was actually going somewhere in my car, and I felt this feeling of, I'm on the road. Don't y'all know who I am? Everybody was in my way. And that attitude, even when you're in the grocery store, you're trying to get help from someone and someone else is up there, it's like, wait a minute, don't y'all know I am behind this person and you need to hurry up. So, humility is just kind of being in our place and knowing that they deserve just as much attention as we would want when we get up there. And these things can help paint a little bit more of a pleasant day. Lastly, this very, very delicate brush that kind of comes in the place of empathy in that same zone. And this one's compassion. You see, empathy is a feeling. Empathy is where you can feel what the other person's feeling. You can identify that building block, that bridge that can solve any problem. If one person can identify with the other person's situation, now you have an understanding, you have a platform to talk. But if you don't even take the time to identify, might not ever work. So conflict resolution, can be fixed with a little identification. But this one, it's not empathy. This is compassion. Compassion actually takes action to help. When you love and you really know that a person is struggling and you do something, you don't just feel it. Feeling it is empathy, but compassion is when you kind of go that extra mile. You see those people underneath that bridge and they're hungry, and you go home and you say, you know what, I got a lot of food. I'm going to take the time to make meals and I'm going to take it out there to them. That's putting some really good strokes, some delicate strokes on a beautiful day. So now that we've covered all of our tools, the things that we need, our brushes, we're going to jump into next week. We're going to talk about particular topics, how we can take our brushes and apply them to particular situations, especially ones that might make us a little uncomfortable. A lot of people don't talk about the things that we're going to talk about, but that's what it is to get in the paint, y'all. So I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned a little something. I hope you're going to go out there tomorrow and take your brushes with you and apply those things that you need to apply at the time, but make sure you got those big brushes before you start. All right, this has been a great episode. I'm so glad you guys tuned in, and we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. In the Paint is a Sax Life music company. Join us next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time when we'll be discussing taking your power back.